So we'll start with the simple continuous. So we'll start with the throw that goes across the incision, equidistant from the incision, and we'll place a knot to tie the first part of our closure. There's a bit of tension on Daisy, so we're using a surgeon's throw here. We want this to be tight. We don't want the linea alba to be loose. The closure of the linea alba has to be tight so we don't get any herniation of soft tissues post-operatively. So we can then cut the one end of our suture, nice and short, and then we run our simple continuous. Again, this would be a linea alba closure. So we will, on the linea alba, we would be handling the tissues with our thumb forceps, whereas on the skin we would not. But this tissue would be deep, so we would likely handle the tissues with the forceps, identify that we actually have the linea alba layers, and the proper layers, including the external rectus fascia, and then would run our simple continuous from right to left if you're right-handed, left to right if you're left-handed, and just applying the suture every 0.5 millimeters to maybe 1 centimeter apart if it's a Great Dane, for example. But otherwise just continuing again a few centimeters away from the edges of the linea alba. Again, handling, making sure you have the proper layers, and suturing in a continuous pattern. So notice that for each bite that I take, I make sure to tighten my suture. We can't wait till we have 10 throws and then try to tighten the tissues. It has to be tightened as we go. And ideally, if you have an assistant, they would trail your suture for you. If not, you'll have to trail it yourself. So we again continue on with our closure, taking each bite approximately even distance from each other and from the edges of the linea alba. So we take bites that are maybe 5 millimeters wide, perhaps up to 1 centimeter wide as well. So they can be 0.5 centimeter to 1 centimeter distance from each other, and then 0.5 centimeter to 1 centimeter distance from the cut edge if it were, for example, a Great Dane. They can be a little bit smaller in cats, perhaps 0.3 or 0.4 millimeters. To finish our simple continuous closure, we use the last throw that we did and use that loop as one of our strands, our short strand, and then use the long strand as our long strand. We start between the loop and the long strand, wrap around the needle holder, pick up the loop. You want to pick it up tightly to pass it through, but now you want to let go of that loop in order to have that loop be equal on each side of the loop, so it ties nicely on each side. There's tension here, so we'll go ahead and put a surgeon's throw. Start in the middle, wrap twice, pick up the loop. I'll demonstrate what happens if you pick up the loop in the wrong spot. What happens is that as you pass it, you'll have extra material on the one side of the loop, and this will not form a nice knot. So you actually want to loosen your needle holder and make sure you get that equal length of loop on each side, and now you can tighten. Again, between your long and short loops, we cross, and we'll do now at the end of our simple continuous on the linea alba 6 or 7 throws, depending on how many you normally do. So 1 to 2, 1 throw extra at the start of your incision, and then 2 extra throws at the end of your incision. You want to be sure that each throw is very tightly opposed to the previous throw. You don't want to see loose spaces in between those throws, otherwise the suture will unravel post-operatively. And then we can cut this nice and short. So this is your simple continuous as it would be applied to a linea alba, to the first layer of a stomach closure, or the first layer of a bladder closure, for example.